All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Fireside Chat. This is number 55 at a special time because we were trying to. We normally do these a little earlier, but I wanted to get this guest on very badly, so I was willing to put it on a little later and delay. Well, actually, I just had an early dinner instead of the normal way I would do it. Welcome, Terrence Popp, to the show. You have a YouTube channel under your name, but it's also found under Redonkulous in your
Yeah, that's
website. Yeah, yeah.
redonkulous.com.
Yeah, redonkulous.com. And for people who don't know, can you tell them a little bit about what you do on your channel?
Well, we pretty much talk about anything that's wrong and ridiculous at the same time. That's redonkulous, and then we tell it how it is, and a lot of people get offended about it. That these days, and we don't care.
Yeah.
No,
Yes. Straight.
Uh,
It's
uh,
the straight dope.
yeah, I mean, I prefer it that way.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
for sure.
easier. It's easier. Sure, it hurts, but you know what? I mean, if you're fucking up, you're fucking up.
That's right. I used to, for stuff that was more than ridiculous, I used to say it was recalculous because I figure
Actually,
a
yeah,
cock
yeah.
is
I
more
was thinking
aggressive.
of getting that domain. In fact, I might already own it. I'm not sure.
Recalculous?
Yeah, yeah, and I'll check that because I went through like a phase when I was on Ambien, and like literally I would take the Ambien at like 9 o'clock,
Uh huh.
and I would fall out of the driving chair, and an evil pop would take over and drive until 4 in the morning. And I would get all kinds of shit in the mail. I was sending like drunk texts to women I don't even fucking know, and it was insane. I mean, it's fun. It's because it's a constant surprise. I mean, it's like hey, you get something like, hey, all right, what did I buy myself? Because you don't remember it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, it's hilarious. I mean, all the stores behind me, I bought all that shit, you know, and obviously I like them. I mean, they are cool.
Oh no, I
But
love that shit. The swords. I got some in my house actually.
I got battle axes, the whole deal. Like I remember I had a roommate when I was living in Michigan, and he calls me up at like 11 o'clock. He goes, "Hey man, you been shopping on Ambien?" I'm like, "I don't know why." He goes, "Well, because they just delivered a battle axe." Really? Is it cool? He's like, yeah. I go, "Is it cool?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, right. Wait. What's an uncool battle axe look like though? I mean, is
Some of them are like, not functional. They're just they're
yeah,
more for decorations. Like if you can actually pick up an axe and hack a man down, that's a cool axe.
right. Yeah, not the ones that look. The ones you buy off of those. Remember those magazines that have like the fantasy axes made out of the
Yeah,
costume metal and shit, and they're yeah.
yeah.
That's yeah. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Some people in the chat are already saying, "Where? What? No red shirt?" Uh,
No, this is the T-shirt I got on. So
yeah, yeah. Hey, whatever. It's what you got on. It
I,
matches.
I yeah, yeah, right for right now.
Yeah. So, thanks again for taking time to come on the show and telling a little bit about what you do on your channel. So, I understand that you have military background. What did you do in the military when you were in there?
Oh wow, we call it a MOS, which is basically it's a number and a letter designation for the type of job that you have. And mine was 11 Bravo, which is infantry. And then I was 11 Bravo 4 Victor, which is an airborne ranger. And then I was
Yeah.
11 Bravo Papa, which is a paratrooper. And then I went over to 18 Bravo, which is Special Forces Weapons Sergeant. And then I picked up Intel Analyst and Civil Affairs and MOS too. That's basically I am qualified to run a government, a government overseas, and while
Holy shit.
people are trying to shoot me and stuff. So
Fucking Solid Snake is in the fucking house. Uh, we had we did a show about military. I was telling you this before the stream started, and I wanted to get a variety because I wanted to hear from different people about their experiences, different dudes. But all the guys I could get were Navy guys, and that's cool. But I was actually thinking, man, it would have been sweet to get like an army guy, maybe not not chair force, but at least like an army guy as well. So it's good that to have that. I mean, the Navy guys had some great stories too.
those
But
guys are hilarious. I know some guys who used to be submariners, man, and their stories are hilarious.
oh yeah, like
Yeah,
well,
they're underwater for like 6 months. They go like they're crazy.
oh yeah, that's crazy.
No, I can respect that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they know some, like some seals, and they have stories about that too. So, did you see? Without getting into too much detail, one of the reasons why I did the show about the military was because I wanted to bring attention to the amount of sacrifice that men willingly do in service of their country or to protect their family or whatever it is they're doing. So just to make people aware of this, because I think that it's a very underappreciated and often criticized choice that men make. So I guess one of my first questions is, what made you go into the military? If that's not too personal.
No,
Why
no.
did
When
you do
I
it?
first went in, I went in at 17. Because I didn't do that well in high school. I had like a 2.51 GPA. I mean, I was the poster boy for average. I was like 5'8", 138 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, with a 2.5 GPA. There's not a lot of there's no scholarships for a white boy with the 2.5, which is what my recruiter reminded me of.
Uh huh.
So I went into the infantry because I thought that it would be somewhat interesting, and it was. And when I got there, they were just starting the whole Army education program, which now it's a huge thing that goes on. They have like 6 or 7 whole online universities that soldiers can take classes and stuff. But back in the day, I took like a 2-page multiple choice, did a couple math problems, then wrote an essay,
Mm-hmm.
and I got called back there like 3 days later, and my platoon sergeant was all pissed because he thought I did something wrong. But the lady that worked there was a retired school teacher, and she read my essay, and she asked me how I did in high school, and I said I got a 2.5,
Yeah.
and she looked at me and she goes, you know what, you have dyslexia. And I'm like, what the hell's that? And she goes, well, I'm explaining to you. You basically ran the Boston Marathon, which is like K through 12. You came in the 75th percentile. And then you come across the finish line and somebody looks at you and goes, you have an anchor on your back. Now imagine what you can do if you could lose that anchor. And that changed my entire life.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. So you had you were basically you got this far with a learning disability, uh, and then you
Yeah.
went.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In the infantry, they only require you to read a little bit, and you
Yeah.
can't be colorblind and shit, but it's pretty easy and until it's
Yeah.
not, and then it gets real bad.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to your white privilege for getting you this inability to get a scholarship. It must be great. Let's cash in on
Well,
that.
yeah. I mean, I got a scholarship after I did, 5 years in the military and almost got killed in a war. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Which one did
I
you
went.
were you serving in?
Well, I jumped into Panama with the Rangers, and I got run over by an enemy vehicle when I was on the ground, like 30 seconds.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we had a little discussion of who's going to stay and who's going to go, and I'm still here. So,
Yeah, there you go. Did you know anyone that that you lost in the military?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know a lot of guys.
Oh shit. And
Yeah.
well, if you don't want to go into any detail or anything about any of those guys,
Well, I don't want to mention their names on here.
no,
'Cause
no,
I
you,
want,
you don't have to do that.
all right.
But like, what kind of stuff happened? Like with the Navy guys, they were talking about how some dudes, apparently, but from being cooped up, there was guys who tried to commit suicide, shit like that. So I don't know if what kind of stuff you saw or had experienced.
No, no, I know about a half a dozen guys who committed suicide. I know like 5 or 6 guys I served with, that got tore up pretty good, and then about another 6 or 8 guys who got zeroed out.
Zeroed out.
Yep, they got deactivated.
Mm, shit.
It
Yeah.
happens.
So no, hey, that's the cost, right? That's what we pay.
Well, I knew the deal.
Yeah.
I willingly like, oh sure, send me, I'm cool. And they did several
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. Yeah. And here you are. So, what made you want to make YouTube content?
You know, I have some issues with PTSD back. Well, I still have it, but I was talking to a therapist offline, and I was paying cash,
Mm-hmm.
and I literally like I'd go in there and I'd start talking, and this guy would like laugh his ass off for like an hour at what I would talk about, and I'm like, why am I paying this guy $150 an hour
To
when
entertain them.
I can make a video and everyone can laugh at it?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm like, cool. It's one, it keeps me from going insane. I think it's much more productive for me to shoot my mouth off on in, in the for comedy than it is to grab a rifle and vote from the rooftops, because I don't condone that, but some guys get pretty crazy.
yeah,
And if I can help, I can help another guy out there going through some of the same shit I went through. If I save one guy, it's all worth it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I've had a couple guys write me saying I was about to put the gun in my mouth, and they stumbled across my videos and they watched them, and they're like, "Hey, I'm not the only one going through this.
Mm-hmm.
People have come out the other side. Yeah, you're taught pretty good when you come out the other side, but you make it to the other side, you'll be all right."
Yeah.
I
And
mean, that's why I made that one video for It's called The Long Game.
mm-hmm.
Because, guys, you walk into family court and you have a penis, you're a loser.
Yeah.
And they'll come up with anything to, screw you over. And,
Yeah. Well, the system is set up to essentially to
yeah,
exploit dudes. I mean,
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And the whole Title 4D money and the 85-15. In reality, you look at the stats, 85% of the time, the children go with the mother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have to turn my phone off here. So, but hang on a minute.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
Turn this off here. Power off. Okay. Yeah, I'm not good at multitasking anymore since I injured my brain pan. So.
Oh, okay. Was that also in combat or in the military?
Yeah. I got the vehicle I was in 2004 was struck by. I got a couple different stories, like 45 kilograms or 65 kilograms of some type of Russian explosive, and it detonated 8 feet off the front of our bumper, and rung my bell pretty good.
Whew.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You were talking about how the content you made. You got some letters from some guys. We're talking about the long game, and
I wrote a book about the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's on Kindle. It's called "The Warrior's Way and the Soldier's Soul," and in this book, I wrote it for the basic grunt out there, with the 10th grade education.
Uh-huh.
Anyone can read it in a day, and it tells you how to prepare for war, how to conduct yourself during war, and how to live with it after.
Yeah. And can you? I know that you had some like a divorce and a child custody issue. Do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I was saying before, like it's 85-15, the statistic for custody. But if you take out the uncontested parts, because that's another 7%, so it's really like 93% for the woman get custody and 3% or 7% for the man.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. I mean, and I don't know why people haven't sued or why people haven't driven a truck through the building or going. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Oh, there was a. You remember the guy who he set himself on fire on the courthouse steps in?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, he was so crazy,
Yeah.
If you're willing to set yourself on fire, I mean, that's a pretty big statement.
Yeah, you're making quite the statement. You're basically saying he was basically saying, look, I can't see my kids. I got screwed in the divorce. I don't have shit to live for. So I'm gonna go. But before I do, I'm gonna say something, and this is how I'm gonna do it. And then people were still like, well, I guess he was just crazy. Like that, no sympathy, no curiosity, nothing. They were just like he was just crazy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at it this way, right? If you're a parent, what is the worst possible thing that can happen in your life?
You lose your kids.
That would be the loss of a child dying or a loss of a child, right?
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that any parent faces, and the Western culture serves that up to men over 20,000 times a day, 5 days a week, 50 out of 52 weeks a year. and that's England, America, Australia, and parts of Germany and Europe. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So,
Oh,
and you look at the stats. 80% of the people in prison didn't have a father at home.
hmm.
Loony bins are full of people. Sex workers never had a father at home. So I hope the check was worth it, bitches. Because when their life goes fucking upside down, it's your fucking fault.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. I was watching. I was watching your videos, and I saw one recently. I think it was like something about raising boys to be like girls, right? And it was you were reading some letters and
Huh?
answering some questions, and one of them was this talk about bullies, and you made some pretty good points about it, like about how the when you like try to protect people from anything that could be like negative stimulus, whether that's in the form of a bully or someone who wants to rally you up or just whatever, but you just
Uh-huh.
coddle people and protect them all the time. It's sort of like being a germaphobe, like where you put somebody in a bubble. They don't build up any immunity, and then anything
Correct.
just sets them off, right? So tell me a little bit about, just for the people who may not have seen it, uh, that thing about bullying and like essentially this feminization of
It
boys.
is. I mean, that video is like, why we need bullies.
Yeah.
Because if you have to deal with something, if you deal with a bully and you're in grade school, I mean, in grade school, there's going to be like a fat lip. Somebody will get scraped up. It's not really that big of a deal. And if they can, cover that hurdle in grade school or middle school, then it sets them up for success down the road. Because if that doesn't happen, when they get out of school, there is no warning signs for life.
Mm-mm.
They're going to get wrecked. And I watch these guys. They come out of college or high school, they go out in the real world and they just get hammered.
Yeah.
They die, alcoholic, hooked on dope. They have like a bazillion kids they can't take care of. I mean, it's insane. It's just, and it all goes back to being able to, to say, you know what, I'm not taking your shit anymore. Yeah, you might kick my ass, but I'm going to say, every day I'm going to tell you the same thing, and you're going to have to kick my ass every day.
Hmm.
Most bullies are lazy. So if you're going to put up any kind of resistance, you're like, okay, well, I'll move on to the next guy because, I don't feel like fighting you every day. So
Yeah.
that's
You
what,
know,
that's what I do.
I remember when I was in fourth, I was a bully up until the fourth grade. I was a bully,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I knew that it turned out the reason why was, well, partly my mom abused me pretty bad
Ooh.
as a kid, and I took it out on other kids. That was
Okay.
part of it. The second part of it was I was actually a really smart kid that got bored in school. And
Yeah.
so when you get bored, you get restless and you start fucking around. And that was what I did. And then in fourth grade, there was this nerdy kid that happened to know karate. So I shit you not.
Oh,
And he didn't kick the shit out of me, but he embarrassed me. And after that, I just, I had to take a step back and think about what I was doing. And I was like 9 years old or some shit, so I didn't quite have an idea, but I knew something important had happened. And it was shortly after that I took like one of those Iowa. They used to have these placement tests, like SATs for elementary school kids.
yep.
And my instructor saw that I was actually a really smart kid that just got, she could tell by my scores. But the school was teaching, like, because public education here in Chicago is just garbage. It's trash. So they put me in like a better, like a gifted program, and all of a sudden, all the bullying shit was gone. I was like really engaged. I had a great male teacher, my first male teacher, by the way, but he was the best teacher
Yeah.
I ever had. And so that put me on the path to, like away from all that stuff. So in at the same time, I think that I bring that up because I think it's a lot. There's a lot there in terms of what you're talking about with bullies and people getting hardened through at a young age, so that they're better prepared for the world. But also the problems with our for example, our academia, which is very feminized and female dominated, and also fatherless homes. Because I mean, I had my father, but he was kind of browbeaten and henpecked, so he didn't really engage us very much. He just went to work and kept his head down, uh,
Damn.
shit like that. I know. It's like I didn't get it at the time, but when I look at it now, it's like, how the fuck did this happen?
Yeah, I didn't have a father. He left when I was 4. I never saw him again. I think I talked to him on the phone like 3 times in my life.
Mm.
So yeah, it is what it is. But in the case of my father, was a legitimate alcoholic, and he was very physically abusive. So I was probably better off not having him around.
And that's a weird thing. My father, he never laid a hand on us, not once. My mom, whenever she got whenever she felt like it, basically. I mean,
Yeah,
she got angry easily, and she would lash out with violence and language. My father, he would like keep quiet, and it was weird. But I had him. Like he wasn't. He was all right. Like if he was an all right role model, and I'm grateful
yeah,
to have my dad because a lot of kids because I live in a low income part of Chicago and there are no fathers around here, like they're just not. It's just
yeah.
basically a bunch of minority women. Like I'm Puerto Rican, a lot of Puerto Rican women, a lot of black women having kids, no dad around, and they're probably having them from a
Yep.
short list of dudes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if a neighborhood has 100 men and 100 women, and 100 women are sexually active, they're probably having sex with like 5 of those guys, the top 5 guys, right?
Yeah, the biggest
And
thugs.
yeah, the biggest thugs, the most alpha dudes, whatever. And the funny thing is that they all have kids from the same short list of men, and those kids grow up, and they start meeting kids that are their relatives. So there's like this
Damn.
this accidental inbreeding that occurs, that's
Ooh.
unintentional, but it's what happens when you like have like a tight knit community in a big city where no one moves out, and you have multiple generations of kids that have they don't know who their father is, and the mother doesn't care because the state's taking care of her, so she doesn't have to like chase down child support, and she's getting Section 8 housing, and she's getting all her groceries taken care of and everything else. She's married to the state, which is commonly what happens in these lower income areas, and then her kids become sexually active, and because there's no dad, the girls develop they hit puberty earlier, and the boys go out and they're just running around like and just like with nothing to do because their mom can't manage them and she doesn't really want to, and then
Yep.
they end up meeting each other when they become sexually active, don't realize they're related, and then they start having sex and making babies. So you do get like a degree of inbreeding that happens. This is like a serious
That is
problem.
well. The thing I did a video on this like 2.5 years ago. I called it System Surfers, and I explained how these people can abuse the system, and they can still work part time, and they get to keep all that money, and they get. I mean, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you graduate high school, you'll basically earn $1.2 million in the course of your life. Now, one of these women who can stay at home, work part time, have kids all she wants, and when you put the dollar value of her benefits and her income together, she'll outperform the guy with the high school education 2 to 1,
2 to 1.
2 to 1.
Oh shit.
And her career is nothing but filling her vagina with babies. That's it.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if that's not on purpose. It makes you wonder.
it well, yeah, women. There are women out there who game this. They, it doesn't really take a high IQ to go, hey, do I really want to work 40 to 60 hours at some place that I hate, and I don't want to do it, or I just keep having kids and I'll get a check and I'll just work at the nail salon or something.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. I mean, I have lots of friends of mine who own businesses, and that's one of the problems they have finding help is they can get all the part-time people they want, but because they're on these you know programs and they don't want to lose the program, so they won't go over like 28 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, listen, I need to have somebody here who has the option to work 40 to 60 hours if it's needed. When it's not needed, yeah, we can do the 28 hours a week or whatever. Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of disgusting. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So No, I mean when I was thinking is, when I say sometimes I think it's on purpose. I know that women do this, and it is often purposeful. And why not? Because the state does give them all kinds of benefits, and I think that
Yeah.
if you're getting a bunch of free shit, and you don't have to do much, then I could see how it could be appealing. I mean, if for whatever reason this was done for men, then men would probably do it too, if it was the case.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's not. Men can't do that.
no, there's no way. there's no way. Uh, but though I almost think when I say that this is on purpose, I sometimes think that the state does this on purpose. It's hard to like whether that they because they're not spending their money, they're spending mostly men's money, right?
It's
Because
taxes.
yeah, but men pay the majority of taxes. So that
Yep.
means that they're the ones paying for a lot of this, single motherhood. And the thing is, too, is I've known women that I used to work with when I had a job back in the late '90s that they would have kids and they would determine their tax returns based on the number of kids they had. And the more kids they had, the bigger their tax refund was going to be. So they wouldn't even think of their kids as kids anymore. They would think of them as,
Bargaining chips.
yeah, essentially, yeah, additional commodities. Like, oh shit, I could trade this in. It was like weird monopoly money, and I'm over here like, well, how are you running around with all these kids? Like, do you know about the woman who had there was a woman who had 15 children.
Yes,
You know,
I mentioned that in a few of my videos.
yeah,
It's just the gall to say somebody's got to pay for all these kids. Are you,
exactly.
are you, are you fucking kidding me? That's insane. It is just insane.
Yeah, yeah. Her
And
vagina is
that
working
Title IV
overtime.
money,
Uh huh.
like one of the main reasons why the courts are so systematically going after these men for child support is, they're getting a minimum of a 25% bounty per dollar that they collect. And in some areas and under some instances, it's 1-to-1, and that money's all coming out of Social Security, and it's basically right around $500 billion a year.
Mm-hmm. Holy shit, 500 billion. That's like
Uh-huh.
we could be taking care of our national debt. I mean,
That's pretty much the money that we spend in defense.
yeah.
It's a little bit smaller than our defense budget.
Wow. Holy shit. So, we were talking before the show about this video. I don't know if we're gonna be able to look at it, but you mentioned something. You had like a theory, and I wanted to know what it was. But before I
Oh
do,
yeah.
I want to set up what we were talking about so the people in the chat know. So there's this video, and I have hold on a second here. It's Bill Nye. It's Bill Nye Saves the World. I guess it's some TV show or something. And I have a lot of criticisms of what I call pop science or science, not actual science. And that's like
Yeah.
this sort of like, popularized media spun, science that usually you see guys like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I know Bill Nye's a guy with I think he's got like a master's or some shit. He's not actually like a doctor or anything. He's just a guy who hosted a fucking kids show. And
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson may actually be a scientist, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he is the expert on all things science. But he's often used. They're political tools. So
Yeah.
Bill Nye, he's got this show, and he brings on Rachel Bloom, who is an actress from a TV show called Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. That's legitimately what the name of the show is. I've never seen it because I don't watch TV, but that's the name of the show. And she does a song. Oh, go
I've
ahead.
heard of the show.
You've heard of it, okay? Well, what's is it? Is she like an ex? That's do you know what the premise of it is, or?
No, no, I've never. I mean, I've heard people talk about it in chat rooms. I've looked for it online. I mean, I saw an episode here and there, but I didn't really follow it in depth to speak
Yeah.
about it.
No. All I know is that she's got big boobs. That's cool. But
I love big boobs.
I like big boobs. Yeah, that's the thing about her that I that's my takeaway. And I think that could be the only thing I take away because in this video she does a song and dance number called My Sex Junk, and in it she talks about essentially the premise of the song is that it's all this like gender is on a spectrum. There is no male and female, like, all the
Oh
other
yeah.
non-binary shit. And I'm thinking, when I see this, right?
Yep.
I'm so annoyed with it because I watched this. I watched this discussion around gender as a social construct and additional pronouns and all this shit. I saw this thing go from Tumblr, like it started in the dark corners of Tumblr, and then it moved into
Yeah.
academia, or it went from academia to Tumblr. That might be actually more accurate. And then into the fucking internet.
The mainstream.
Yeah, and now it's in the mainstream, and now it's being put out there on as entertainment, and it's like, well, edutainment, I guess. And that shit is really concerning, right? Because it's there's no evidence that any of this shit is true, and they're just putting it out there. And
Yep.
you were saying that you had some thoughts on that whole discussion, so I wanted to know
Well,
what you were thinking.
all right. When you get up in the morning, you are going to produce the average American he'll walk out his front door with about 10 to 12 give a dams. He'll have about 5 to 6 give a shits and 1 to 3 give a fucks. And if you don't think that's correct, I'm right. I mean, I'm wrong. I mean, when you get up in the morning, what is the first thing you do?
Make my
You brush
coffee.
you brush your teeth.
Okay, I brush my teeth, yeah.
And you know why? Because you give a damn about your teeth. Teeth are good. All right? And if you just brush your teeth and don't floss, your teeth will be gone roughly by 50.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to keep your teeth past 50, you have to give a shit about them. And the difference is dental floss. It's just like that. And if you don't think you have any extra dams to give, go ahead and walk around town, cross the street not giving a damn, and see what happens to you. You're going to get hit, and then you're going to be injured, and now you have to spend a bunch of give a fucks to get around. That's what's happening. Now, with the male and female thing, when you pass away, you're going to go to the coroner's office. They'll put you in the refrigerator, and then they'll look under the sheet and see what equipment you have is south of 8 Mile, which is the belly button. And then they're going to check one of 2 boxes. One is an M, one is an F, male or female. Now, in between those boxes, there's an empty space. We have a lot of people in our society who are spending give a fucks on that empty space in between the M and the F. And that's why you have 70 fucking different genders. It is insane.
Yeah. There's actually over 350 genders.
It is so stupid.
It's so stupid, yes.
It is. You know what? And if you wanted to reverse that shit, you got to get men back into the family unit.
Mm-hmm.
Because, women do not raise boys well.
No.
No. I mean, after the kid's like 12, she doesn't have the horsepower to control the kid. You know what? My mom would hit me after I was 12. I'd turn away and laugh. I'm like, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, you need somebody that's gonna say this gender shit is shit instead of just being sort of like, well, there might be something to it. I mean, he's a scientist. I know him from kids shows, so maybe he knows something I don't know. And that's
listen, if actually the trans people feel like they were born in the wrong body. All right, that's terrible. But the way I look at it, it's like the worst practical joke God played on somebody in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe they'll, when they die, they'll go back and get recycled and come back down here. But they better kick the tires and see what the fucking's going on before they come back down here. Otherwise, they're going to keep going through the same old bullshit. I just don't get that. Like, they're a female born in a male's body. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. Oh, the thing is, though, the trans thing, that's a separate animal. That's got nothing to do with that's the thing. Like, okay, here's the thing: when you're a trans person, you have gender dysphoria, which is in the CR5 is like a mental disorder. This is how they sort of classify it. Unfortunately, there's no treatment for it. The only thing you can do is there's therapy, and then to maybe help if you don't want to change your gender, and then there's transitioning, and that's your option. But the thing is, with trans people, that is either a man that wants to be a woman, which I think the majority of cases, like the overall, I think it's like 70% of all trans people are male to female, and then 30% is female to male. So it happens to men way more often, but we don't talk about that.
Yep.
But they are not becoming, or they don't have a desire to be some other gender. They want to be the opposite gender. So when you say, if you're an activist that says gender exists on a spectrum and no one is really all the way male or no one is really all the way female, you're actually making an argument against trans people, because what you're telling them is you're not actually a woman in a man's body or vice versa. You're just somewhere in between. And it's weird because when you make the argument against gender as a social construct, which trans people, since they exist, they already kind of debunk that whole, gender as a social construct thing by existing at all, then you're also telling them that because you believe in 300 some odd genders, what they're trying to do is it actually exists in contrast to that. It's like you can't have both of these things at once. We be willing, because many of the trans people I know are pretty reasonable and they understand that they're outliers, right? They're like, it's like a fraction of a percent of people that are trans. So
it's like 0.3 of 1% of the gross population.
Yeah, it's a really, really small percentage of people. And a majority of people that think they might be trans, if they seek therapy, they later find out that that's not really the case. They were just homosexual or whatever. But when it actually comes down to it, if they go through the process, then they are changing from one gender on the binary spectrum to another. Now, of course, they don't actually ever fully achieve, like a man doesn't actually become a woman, but she feels more comfortable living that way, and maybe she meets somebody and they can make it work. But
you know what their suicide rate on those people is, right?
Yeah, it's pretty high. And
it's
actually,
it's pretty much the same after they have the surgery than before the surgery.
Yeah,
it's almost identical. They're very close.
Yeah,
and I feel sorry for them. I really do. But I didn't create the universe, and I don't understand why I'm made to pay for it. So
yeah, exactly. And the thing is too is that my main point was not necessarily in defense of or criticism of trans people. Like that's not that's out of my league, period. But it is it is not at all connected to the multiple genders thing, because the multiple genders thing is more. There's no science that backs it all. None. Okay.
I know it's just
It just feels. It's got nothing to do with that, and most of the time it's just young men and women that are confused. Either they're confused about their sexuality, or they're just looking for attention, and then they want to make it into something. That's my experience from what I've seen in most cases. Or they're just making a fashion choice and they think it means it's another gender. Oh, I like to wear pink. That means I'm not quite a man, and it's like, what the fuck? Men can wear pink, like if they want. I mean,
with all these different genders, these are a symptom that something is out of balance.
Yeah.
And the family unit with the man, the woman, and children, like, they have been the building block of every civilization on the face of the earth as far back as we can go. Now they're ripping the father out, and now we're seeing the effects of that.
Yeah. And the problem is, if most men don't want to get married and they don't want to father kids, I don't really blame them, because
I don't either.
Yeah.
No, I'm a red pill guy. I'm never getting married again. I'm one and done. I gave it a go. I got my heart ripped out through my a-hole. I'm good.
Yeah.
And now, I continuously pay I pay child support every month. If I had not got divorced, I would be already out of the Army, and I'd be working and I'd be retired. But, back in, was it 2007 when the market crashed? It was like a worst case scenario thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys in the chat, if you guys have any questions for Terrence Popp, just put it in. I'll read it out for him. So we have a good audience, and they're pretty involved in discussion right now.
That's cool.
So I'll take a question if they put one in, and I'll read it for you. And
Sure.
But yeah, man. So what do you think? I know that you do a lot of content that, let's say, would you consider yourself MGTOW?
Yeah, I would go. I would put myself in that spectrum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
It's
mean,
a
I'm doing my own.
MGTOW is on a spectrum, guys.
Yeah,
Confirmed.
well, I mean, I still go out with women and stuff, but I haven't had a relationship. I'm kind of on a 7-year break from that
Hmm.
because, I just was going one from the other, one of the. I wasn't learning anything. There was a lesson in all that I needed to learn, and I wasn't because that's what life is a bunch of lessons and patterns. And
Yeah.
one of my friend's fathers, I've known him since I was 8. He just told me, he's like, dude, just take 7 years off, man. When you
Yeah.
come back, you'll have a whole different mindset on how this whole thing works. And you know what? He's correct.
All right.
I have like a year and a half left. Yeah.
Well, maybe you just won't even give a shit after that. Um,
Yeah. Once you can go without it and you can live by yourself and everything is
mhm.
copacetic, you're like, do I really need to interject a bunch of chaos and stupidity into this? Probably not.
Yeah, that's. I feel that feel. So, someone from the chat says Ben Rodriguez asks, "Can you define some of the terminology from your channel, like slurs?" Now, I think I know this one. Is this is this like a
Yeah.
combination of the word slut and whore?
Well,
No.
okay.
Okay.
You have a hoe, HOE, which is a horizontal orientated entertainer. All right. They come with the standard package. It's the same menu, a
Hmm.
little upstairs, a little downstairs, but you can never go around to the back door. Okay. Now the slows or the slutty hoes, it's all a la carte. You can get whatever you want. All right. And same thing, with a hooer and a slewer. A hooer, standard stuff, up and down, time limits, money, whatever. And the slow or the slewer, it's all a la carte.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's all. I mean, there are women out there. Like, you watch some of the BDSM fucking videos. I'm just like, why would a woman do that? It's insane, but they do it. They're crazy. Maybe
Yeah.
they like it. I don't know. I'm a standard, dude. I like chicks. I don't do any crazy stuff that I
Hmm.
know of. Well, at least when I'm not taking Ambien.
Right.
So,
Until Evil Pop comes out, then who knows what's going on?
yeah. I mean, there's a couple times I have a couple friends of mine that when Evil Pop gets out, I call him up. I'm like, hey, Evil pops out of the box and he's drinking at the bar. I need help. And then, people
Yeah.
call me and calm me down or come over and give me a shot of booze and say, sleep it off, man. Don't do nothing crazy.
Yeah. Right. All right,
Yeah.
another question from Jeffo06. Terrence Popp, given the high rate of suicides by returning vets, do you think there was a deliberate program to instigate the skyrocketing divorce rate of vets?
Well, since the no fault divorce came into play in like the early 70s, and one of the first institutions to get totally railed by that whole thing is the military. And after Vietnam in 75 to 82, the Army was just decimated by the amount of people who were getting their lives wrecked because of this no fault divorce stuff.
Yeah.
And they've never been able to, when the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put it back. So, and they've never been able to figure out a way to make it so it's, fair for everyone. And, it's an easy solution. And one of the main reasons why I do all this is I want 50-50 custody to be the first option in any divorce,
Mm-hmm.
period. And it would radically change what's going on. I mean, and then, some of these guys are losing their kids and they never see them again. And then they put motions in, they talk to judges, and the woman just says, you know what, I'm not doing it. I think my children are in danger with him. He will never see them. And there's no laws on the books to, other than contempt of court. And that's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been held in contempt of court. Whatever. I'll go down to the jail and have a Pepsi, and they'll let me out the next day. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, this is a funny story in regards to that.
Go ahead.
Like I was going through this whole divorce thing, and that was done. And then, I took my ex-wife into court like every 22 days for almost 2 years. And she kept bringing up this like $300. She's like, I need to have $300. Blah, blah, blah. And it just got to the point where I'm literally in front of the judge, and I'm like, I look over and I go, you can suck 6 cocks. You can knock that out in half a Saturday. And like I heard people run out of the courtroom because they were laughing their goddamn asses off. And even the sheriff was like, the deputy was sitting there, and he just kind of did that slow move where he smiled and turned away. and the judge is like, hey, I'll hold you contempt of court. I'm like, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm sorry, but she can suck 2 dicks a weekend and take 1 weekend off. That one cost me like $300 for that one. It was well worth it, though.
It was
well worth it.
Yeah. $300 well spent.
Well worth it. And like I had to go back with the sheriff, and he just like, that was the funniest shit I ever heard in a long time. I sat down and I had a Pepsi with the guy, and then he's just like, are you decompressed now? Can you just, is everything cool? I'm like, yeah, I feel much better. It's like, all right.
Well, of course, you had a Pepsi. That thing stops riots, Well,
I mean, that particular deputy, you have some cops that are real wise, and they understand there's some crazy shit going on, and they can step in there and say, I want you to stand over here and chill out for a while, and then you just go. Once you calm down, just go away. Everything will be fine. And then you have the guys who like follow law by the letter. It's. Mm-hmm. They're black. The black and white thing. The world is not black and white. It's all shades of gray. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Daedalus Dan says, Pop, do cock sucked count towards the dick stacking test?
the dick stacking ratio. Well, usually, when the slot egg gets put on the peg D, there's usually another coupling that takes place shortly thereafter with peg D, the slot C, because those two like to upgrade each other, and they do it all the time. And it is what it is. So I would say yes. I would include that towards the dick stacking test.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, and here's another one too. Like if you go out with a woman and you get to the point where you're like, so how many men have you slept with? And you get I don't keep track. It's 100 cocks. It's a 50-foot drop. It's a 5. You'll die. It's too many cocks. You can still bang it and hang out, but don't write a check against that, because you're just asking to get waylaid.
Yeah, the house always wins.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. Oh shit. Okay, so let me see. I want to see if there's another question in here. These are pretty funny. So, do slurs allow you to shit on them?
That is included in going around the screen door.
Okay, all right. So
that can happen. I mean, if they're into that, and if you're willing to pay for it, I'll do whatever you want.
Right.
I'm actually going to do a video on some of these women that go to Saudi Arabia, and that packs of these guys just do horrible shit to them, and they get paid a lot of money.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's terrible. Yeah, they have no dignity, but I'd be like, holy shit, it's terrible.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, I watch that stuff, because I don't really sleep. So if I'm not sleeping, I'm usually here till 2, 3 in the morning, and I go get 3 or 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
This is the planning chamber right here. I have this computer. I have another one here. And I have another one over in the other room. So if I need to do stuff, I'm always looking.
Yeah. And so what do you got coming up for another video? What's your next one?
Well, I did that one, benefit of the doubt for all the fathers out there. Mm-hmm. And basically, if there's kids out there who grew up without their father, and they want to get some closure or find out what the fuck went on, to go talk to the other half, go track their father down and get his side of the story, and then you can build the truth when you put them both together. And because I mean, there's just a lot of healing that needs to take place. I mean, this shit's been going on for half a century.
Yeah.
Half a century, people have been getting just waylaid by this crazy system, and it's a tragedy. It really
Yeah.
is.
It is. It's a shitstorm. And
Yeah, but the thing is, though, I mean, it is a shitstorm, but there is so much comedy material in this.
well, you gotta laugh, or you'll shoot yourself.
You will go insane. You
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, you
I
gotta
mean,
laugh.
I did all that time in the army. There's lots of times where I was ordered to do some crazy shit, and I'm like, Roger that. I've been waiting all day to get killed. Let's go.
yeah. and when you come back from that, that was something else I was thinking about when I had the military guys on. We were talking about it's like two different worlds. The people who live in live the military life and the people who don't know anything about it. Do you like run into people who they've always been civilians and they have really strong opinions about what we're doing and what it's like, and what do you think about that?
I get that all the time. Guys are like, you're just a simp, you're expendable, you've been brainwashed, and I mean, I love the army. If I had not gone in the army, my life would have been nothing but being an assistant manager at Denny's.
Yeah.
I mean, and back in the day when I first went in the army, there was guys that would go in the army or go to jail. There's guys in there who couldn't even read, and it like totally changes your life because they treat you poorly in the beginning, and then they build you back up, and in my case, they basically turned me into something completely different. I mean, by the time I went when I went in the army, I was just a general infantry nug, and then I became a Green Beret, and I mean that's like one of the most elite jobs on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I saw that and I was like, holy shit, a fucking green. That's why I made the snake joke. Yeah. But
when I went through there, when I went through selection, when I finished, the sergeant major, he told us what the deal is. He goes, listen, we get roughly 4,000 to 5,000 applications to attend, people who want to attend this selection course for special forces. And then we usually weed that down to between 400 and 700 people. Mm-hmm. And then, we send them in, we say, yeah, you can come. And usually, 20 to 30% of the people don't even show. So there's 500 dudes. It's like 10% of the 5,000 to 7,000. At the end of that, and my selection, out of the 530 people who showed up, they selected 38 people. Mm-hmm. And then that gave me the right to go to Special Forces school, and usually half of those guys fall out in the school. So out of every 7,000 people, there's like 18 people that could be Green Berets.
Holy shit!
It's insane. I mean, they need more people now, so they've like messed with the standard to a certain extent. But like when you come out of that selection, you have the ability to say, I'm going to move or I'm going to do this until I die. Mm-hmm. And that makes basically when you can do that, your mind has become stronger than your body.
Yeah.
And that's what they want.
All right. And when you were in the military, this is something else I wanted to ask you about. Did you guys were there like hazing or things like that? Yeah. And this was, but like, because the Navy guys told me about this too. Tell me a little bit about what that's about. I know that there's people who have a lot of negative opinions on it, but I get the impression from when I talk to the Navy guys that it's actually, it may seem that way, but in the end, it's actually it is a good thing.
Yes, it is. It's like in today's society, men don't have a rite of passage. Like they turn 18, bam, you're a dude by default. You're a man by default. They don't. There's no passage. Like when you get hazed, like when I got the hell, I showed up at 17 and I had to carry a bale of hay a mile and a half up to the motor pool to feed the gamma goat, which was supposedly the mascot. So I show up there, I carry this 50-pound bag or bale of hay, and this master sergeant looks at me and goes, "What? And he calls my first sergeant, and he's like, "Yeah, he's here." Yeah. So he's like, "Take that hay, take it back to the headquarters." So I carried it, a mile and a half back, and everyone laughed at me, and I was like, "That's fucked up. That's fucked up." And then I went to the Ranger Battalion. I had to hold basically a cinder block over my head for like 4 hours, which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they screw with you, and then once you make it, you make it. You're part of the dudes.
Yeah, it's like, would you call it, would it be good go too far to say it's sort of like a brotherhood?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So you
No,
feel really
there's
close to these guys, right?
I'm still friends with them to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that was another thing too. Is this is something that I find that's super unique about. I would call it warrior culture, but people who are soldiers, if they meet other soldiers, they could be complete strangers, right? And if you
Yeah.
just run into a guy who served, you might notice a tattoo, or maybe he's got a pin or something. And there's like a
Yeah.
connection right away. You're just like, hey, did you?
Yeah.
Or even if they were like, way older or much younger, maybe they were in a
Yep.
different thing. Have you ever run into that? Have you ever had that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember had one of my flights canceled, and I had to go back down to the main lobby, and I was all pissed off. And I got in line, and apparently I got in front of this other guy, and he got really mad, and I was mad at him, and we were having like a little thing, and I saw his Navy tattoo. He was an older guy, and apparently he was on the Indianapolis, the one that delivered the bomb that was going to be dropped during Japan, and
Yeah.
I think 1,500 people went into the water, and only like 200 made it out. The rest were eaten by sharks.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's just like once I saw that, I was like, all right, yeah, you just go. It's all good.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I apologize immediately. I'm like, hey, I put my foot in my mouth. I'm an asshole. Go get in line. It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's the thing. That's cool. There's something that I think when it comes to the kind of masculinity that we don't appreciate. I won't say that it doesn't exist because it's definitely there, but we don't appreciate it enough in our society. And this always comes from, it comes from feminists, sure, but it comes from academics, from intellectuals, from the media. There is this discrediting of traditionally male behavior,
Yeah.
and it's actually getting worse. It's not getting better. This has been,
No, it is. I refuse. Like I don't. I mean, I won't put up with it. I mean,
yeah,
if somebody tells me that this is bad and you're too mean, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. I am mean. But when the devil's pounding on the door to get in to smoke everybody, who are you going to ask for help? Me. Men like me. So shut the fuck up.
exactly, yeah. And that's the thing too, is that they accuse people like you of being bullies, and us, and anybody who's got an opinion that doesn't agree with theirs, and they think that they're the righteous ones. But I've learned that the people who put on the smiling face and they want to be nice and sweet and agreeable and shit, they can be way, way worse. I'd rather
It's
have
not.
somebody who's an asshole that's honest with me.
Yeah, yeah. I'd rather have somebody be an asshole to my face. But the people you're talking about are like that one school teacher in Harry Potter that
Yeah.
became the female. Because
Yes.
that when I see her, I'm just like, I know, like, 10 or 15 women just like her that act just like that, and I can't stand them.
Yeah. I can't
That's
remember her
that's
name, but I know what you're
yeah, I
talking about.
can't.
She had pink everything, and she
Yes.
acted super sweet, but she was probably one of the worst, if not the worst person in that whole series of
Yes.
films. And I was like, oh, I wonder if you guys could even see that this person represents, like, essentially that sweet totalitarian authoritarianism, which you see so much. You saw it so much before this whole Antifa thing, started blowing up, and they actually did try to strike back at people that disagreed with them. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the whole Antifa thing, that's not good. If that continues to go, I mean, it could really get bad for our society.
yeah, because people they're gonna start responding, and when you silence
Yes.
discussion, then after a while, the only way people can respond is with violence. And this we don't really need that. We shouldn't have to do
Oh,
that. But I think this is what they want. But no, I mean it's not good.
well, like for instance, like all of the shit that's going on with family court. I mean, like if you walk out your front door, pull out your shotgun, smoke 3 or 4 people, they're gonna arrest you, and they're gonna do everything by the book. They're gonna everything by the all your constitutional rights are gonna be followed. They're gonna go through letter by letter to make sure they don't do anything wrong, so you get punished accordingly. You go into family court, all of that shit is gone. You have no constitutional rights. You are guilty, or you are like you look bad in front of everyone. Everyone already you already walk in there, you're on a bad leg, and like they take away your kids with no due process. They take half your shit, no due process.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like if you own 5 houses and you get married, that woman has a partial ownership interest in those 5 fucking houses, even though you owned them before you married her. I mean, it's insane. And like literally, when I signed my divorce papers, I was walking out with my attorney, and I just laughed my ass off as soon as we cleared the building. And my attorney's like, "Pop, what's so fucking funny?" I'm like, "You know what? I'm laughing. This shit is so insane. I do not know why there aren't people stacked out front of here dead, 8 feet high." I said, "Holy shit." Yeah, but they've been doing it for like half a century, and dudes are just like, okay. I mean, I don't condone violence, but if that were to happen, I would understand it.
Yeah. It's funny that this has been going on this long, and there are dudes that are signing up to just let it happen to them too. Like, if this won't happen to me, I'm gonna be all right. And it's like, dude, this is still a 50-50 thing. It's the old Bill Burr joke. If you were told if you were going to go skydiving and you were told that there's a 50% chance your parachute wasn't going to open, would you go skydiving?
Fuck no.
No way.
Yeah, Bill Burr's hilarious. I built a couple of my jokes around his stuff.
Yeah.
He's totally right, too.
Absolutely. Okay, Ben Rodriguez from the chat says, being former military, being former special forces, what is the most annoying thing in action movies for you?
Oh, my God. One of the things that really pisses me off is whenever they take a gun and point it at somebody, it makes like the clicking sound like they're like loading or whatever the fuck they're doing. I'm like, really? That doesn't even have a trigger. It's internal, and it's gonna click when he points it at you. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, right.
I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Jesus
That or when people cock the shotgun a bunch of extra times. Like when they.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, aren't you wasting bullets? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, there should be a shell coming out of there, or I'll count the bullets. I know that one, that one pistol has 15 shots max, and I'll go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. You should be reloading now. He's out of ammo. Oh, he's still shooting. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate that.
Yeah, I think when you're when you get close to it, it's hard to like get out of it, especially when it's like the people don't even give a shit. They just want to have they just want to put guns in the film. Yeah.
It's good entertainment, but yeah. I'm like, come on now. Like, you're going to throw a knife before a guy shoots you. Come on. Come on.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, a knife will hurt, but, it's going to take you about 3 or 4 minutes to die unless he hits you in the heart or in the neck. So he's going to shoot the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, the gun clicking thing always drove me crazy.
Yeah, that annoys me. That annoys me.
Okay, so what else we got here? Oh, you know what? So things are really bad for men, for marriage, and for family. Actually, I don't know if you agree, but there's a lot of discussion around all kinds of problems, right? People have problems with the presidency. People have problems with the potential, shit going down in Syria, shit going down in Europe with Islam, all these issues, Black Lives Matter, and so on. I am of the belief that most of these problems that are actually potentially easier solves than they appear to be come down to I think the most important problem is the one that we have between men and women. That's my belief. Okay, I wanted to know what you thought about that. Like compare, like all the other shit, I think would actually get washed away if we fixed if we looked or paid attention to what's going on between men and women. That's what I
Yeah, I mean,
think.
it says right there in the good book that a house divided will not stand.
Mm-hmm.
And when you turn half of the population, which is the men in the Western world, into villains, it's going to implode.
Yeah.
I mean, there's already, I don't even, I mean, I do not speak for the MGTOW community. I do not speak for the red pill guys. I'm just telling them, from my point of view, that if these dudes don't want to get married, they don't have any kids, okay, you got to like, maybe 30 years before you run out of people that can actually work. So that's bad. And if they just, make enough money just to take care of themselves, then, the taxes, they're not going to be able to tax these guys. So it'll financially implode there. And, my personal opinion is this, that if we allowed this to happen, we saw it happening in 1972 or 3 when it started, and it's only gotten worse, and people are okay with it. So if you're willing to, destroy half of your population and alienate them, in my opinion, that culture doesn't deserve to be around.
Mm-hmm. You reap what you sow, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's terrible, but I mean, I have 2 kids and I have 2 daughters, and I feel bad for them because they're going to have a rough time of it when they get in their 20s.
Oh yeah. How old are they now?
It's 15 and soon to be 13.
Oh shit, 15.
Yeah, I know. I'm fucked. I'm fucked. I know.
Oh no. Do you see them?
Yeah, I see them. This is another thing. I drive from where I am in New York to Detroit in 71 miles one way if I go around the lake. There's 469 miles if I cut through Canada. That's one way. And I do that 2 to 3 times a month.
Well, that's good. See your kids. And what do you guys do usually?
We usually go. I mean, the thing we do is we like to see movies. So
Oh yeah.
we usually go see 1 or 2 movies. All the good stuff that's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting older. I mean, I understand they don't want to hang out with me as much as they did when they were littler, and I understand. But it hurts. It hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I
Because,
mean,
I did the math on this. I'm really good with the math. If it's real things if it's a tangible number, I'm really good with it. So I figured it out that me and every other dude out there, we're getting robbed out of 2,043 days with our kids.
oh shit.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is that's true. That's a lot of time. And you were probably lucked out that you could even see them. Because
The thing is like I learned how to do the paperwork myself, and it became a war of attrition because she would fuck with me, or I wouldn't see the kid. I went to the courthouse the next day, filed a motion, went through the whole damn thing, and I had her in court like every 20 to 25 days for almost 2 goddamn years. And like literally, I'm in front of the judge, and he's like, "If I want to see you in here again, if you come here, I'm going to throw you in jail." And I'm like, "Well, you can just throw me in jail right now." And he's like, "No, I'm serious." And I'm like, "Listen, I've been in the army. I've been through all of it. You can't do anything. You can't scare me." So he's like, "Okay." And then we went back into his chambers. He's like, "All right, what the fuck's wrong with you? What is the stick up your ass that is driving you this hard?" And I'm like, "I'm not. I don't want to be a father 48 hours a month. That's not a parent. It's hardly even a visitor." So he's like, "Yeah, you're right. All right." So I got 3 weekends a month, and then I'm like, "Well, I want to take him to school on Monday." And my ex-wife was throwing a fit, and he goes, "Just shut the hell up." And I'm like, "Why do I have to get ripped off out of the school experience? I mean, what the hell? I want to take him, drop him off on school on Monday morning." And he's like, "That's totally reasonable." So
there you go.
So that was it. I mean, because every time she showed up, she had an attorney, and I know she was paying the attorney like $500. I mean, I know what things cost, and I only had to pay the filing fee. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If I have to pay only 3%, and you're getting hit for the other 97% of the cost, I'll win.
Yeah. Besides, a lot of what happens to guys with family court, and one of the things that really ends up fucking them over is that they run out of money because
Yeah.
they're paying the lawyers, and so why not cut the costs and do the work yourself? So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's not that difficult, and you can go to the YouTube channel. I mean, there's lessons on there that'll teach you how to do everything.
mm-hmm. All right.
And I highly suggest that if you're getting any problems, any of that bullshit, take your ass to court, and
Yeah.
or you can watch the Full Monty, which is I basically counsel guys on how to fucking play dirty and win. That's this whole divorce bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some videos on
Yeah,
your.
oh, I mean, it is so unfair. The guy has no choice but to go guerrilla warfare, and he has to get sneaky. Like if she goes out to a bar, she pulls out of the driveway, calling a DWI.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if she's been drinking, if like the male will know if his wife or soon to be ex-wife likes to drink, and if she's at the bar, calls it in and just goes, "Hey, I'm behind this person driving here, and they just hit a dog, and they didn't stop." They'll pull them over in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go in there, now she's got a DWI and you don't. So I mean,
There you go.
you start cracking the armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I advise guys guys get caught up in this one too. Like they are paying child support, but they have the kid the majority of the time. And I talked to about 2,000 guys about this shit. I'm like, listen, if you have the kids, order the newspaper. It comes up every morning. Have the kid hold it. Take a picture of the kid holding today's newspaper. Have it printed up. Put it in a book. So when you go into court and she's bitching about, she's not getting enough money, you're like, listen, I have the kids the majority of the time. She says, oh, he's lying. You pull out the book, and then everything's dated. Like there's just a newspaper on that date. Look, who's that kid? That's my kid holding the newspaper, and I have 1,500 of these pictures in this book. And they give it to the. It's a no-brainer. It blows the judge's mind when you do that shit.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't argue with that. And you can say, well, now that you have the evidence, I want to adjust this child support thing since I have kids the majority of the time. And a lot of times they'll win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, how many cat ladies do you think it's going to take before we get we get this shit straightened out, or people start thinking about it?
I don't know. I'm working on the crazy cat lady starter kit actually.
Okay.
I think that would be kind of cool. It's like a cat box, a couple bags of kitty litter, 10 shares of PetSmart stock, and you put it in a big box and you mail it to their house. It's worth the postage when it arrives. They'll just freak out.
Can we also, they probably need some Ben and Jerry's ice cream to, like a big tub that they can, extra large spoon, and maybe some wine, the usual.
Yes.
To go with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
A red or a pink. That's what I would give them.
Probably red wine for them.
Yeah.
I have a joke when I do stand up, and literally I go up there and I'm like, so any ladies here 30, not married, have no kids? And there's always a couple that raise their hand. I'm like, okay, because I can hear your waxworks drying up and it sounds like cellophane getting crumpled. Or Rice Krispies and milk. And the dudes over there like, oh shit, I don't care if they hate me. It doesn't matter to me.
It's funny, you should mention comedy, because I noticed that some of the funniest people are often people who've had, some difficulty in their life, right? That's what comedy's born from. That.
Yes.
Would you agree?
It's a defense against the universe.
Yeah.
It is.
And that might explain why so many feminists are not funny.
Yeah.
They're really not funny, and the reason is because they don't actually have anything legitimate to complain about. So when they make humor based on what bothers them, it just comes across as cringe.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing an episode on Amy Schumer.
Oh, geez. Did you see her last special?
No, I saw parts of it. It sucked.
Oh, my God. I couldn't. I tried to watch it. I think I got through 15 minutes at the most.
There's only so many times you could say men are fucking evil. So, and then it's just not funny anymore.
No. No, I agree. It's just... And you gotta, well, if you're gonna do that, you have to come up with new ways to do it. And then you also, I think, a really good comedian flips it, and they go after women too. You know, you gotta. It's not for the sake of equality, but because that throws people off. Like they're expecting more man bashing, and then you bash on women for a while, and
Yeah,
or
I can
whatever.
bash on women. Yeah,
Yeah, right. um, you've ever bash on male feminists or dudes or whatever?
yeah. I got a the mangina syndrome. Uh, that one, I still get hate mail about that one. Then I got the white knight syndrome. I basically, go after these guys that like women. Like, listen, like Bill Burr said it best: ass kickings just don't fall from the fucking sky.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be something there, at least 90% of the time, where the woman has some responsibility in what happened. And it's just crazy. Like, for instance, like I came back from a mission and I was going through the whole divorce, and I walk in the house, my kids run and greet me, and my dog is gone. My 6-year chocolate lab named Ranger. So I look at my soon-to-be ex-wife. I'm like, "Where's the dog?" And she looks at me and says, "I told you I didn't want you living here."
Whoa.
And I was just like, this is why chicks get punched. This is why chicks get punched. And Good Pop was still driving. He's just like, about face, forward mark. And I just walked right out the door and I didn't come back for like 6 or 7 days.
Where was your dog?
I got 3 different stories. So chances are she killed him.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, is that fucked up? He's only 6 years old.
Dude. Oh, I love dogs. Like, I have one here. She's 17 years old. She's got a heart failure.
Wow.
Her chest is filling up with fluid. I can't afford to take her, to do much else, but I still take care of her to the best of my ability. I love this dog to death.
Yeah, I know.
I cannot conceive that someone would be willing to kill someone else's dog. And why? I mean, like, why? Just as like a control thing, or to fuck with you, or just because I'm just tired of looking at them? I know that people are capable of some fucked up shit. Like, I know that I've heard terrible stories of women who kill their newborns, who and all that. But I mean, a fucking dog, man.
Yeah.
Seriously. Okay.
Well, I got 3 different stories. I got like he went to the Humane Society, and then she sold him to a lab breeder, and then she gave him to a rescuer. I don't remember them all. I mean, and I asked for phone numbers. I made phone calls. I called everybody, and they just thought I was crazy. And then I brought it up in divorce court, and the judge is like, "Look, dog's just property. She got rid of the property. Yeah, what can we do?"
Is that how they treat it? They treat dogs like property?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh man, I never knew that.
They weren't like they basically they called me a murderer and an assassin, and then they used my TBI to take my kids away. And I bring up the fact that she killed my dog, and they're like, like, that's pretty fucking fucked up. I mean, that's a whole other level of fucked up. I mean, that is some crazy ass shit right there.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm to blame because, I bet against somebody's nature, and I got stung by the scorpions. The scorpion always stings the frog. It's the way it works.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Do you have another dog by any chance?
No, I'm not going through that hell twice, man. I'm good.
No? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my dog probably won't last the rest of this year, but I'm going to get another one. I love dogs, so.
Yeah. I mean, 17 is a good run, man.
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, when I got her, she's a rescue, and when I got her, she was 6.5 already, or something like that, and her coat was all gray, and she was like low energy. She was a low energy dog, and I started, they were feeding her some bullshit science diet food or whatever. And when I brought her home, I went to like the little indie pet store. I asked them, I said, "Look, this is the dog I got. She's got like psychological issues, and her coat is like this, whatever." And they put me on a diet of like super nice dog food. I was spending. She was eating better than I am, And
Yeah,
her coat got really good. She got all her energy. She was jumping fences, having fun, and she lived like that for 10 years with me. And
that's awesome.
yeah, no, I know. So I mean, even now, she's doing really well for a dog her age. It's just, her card is gonna get punched pretty soon. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's like a human living to 165.
yeah, exactly.
That's a long fucking run, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even. I myself, I'm only betting on 65 for me. I'm on the 65 and out plan.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? You went through the army, survived all that. Now you're making videos. You're surviving that. You're surviving the fucking millennial apocalypse. Maybe World War
Oh,
Three. I
yeah.
don't know. So
We'll see. I hope not.
I don't really
Yeah,
think
but
so. But
I mean, I legitimately, in my career, should have died 3 times. There's like literally, there's no excuse. I mean, it's just like I should have died,
yeah,
and then there's probably another 3 times that I could have been like severely injured or possibly killed, and I just got lucky.
hmm
I've always been lucky when it comes to that shit, and hopefully it continues.
yeah, yeah. What's your oh shit? What is the name of that group? The VA. What's your experience like with the VA? Do you have that?
Well, yeah, they're like I went to the VA a couple times in the emergency room in Detroit, and they were pretty good. I mean, they get you right in there,
Mm-hmm.
but they can only work with what they got. So I mean, their budget's pretty, constricted. They weren't really paying top dollar, so a lot of doctors wouldn't work there. They wanted to work in private, and they're trying to adjust. And I think they're really trying to do the best they can with what they got.
Yeah.
It's all you can ask.
Yeah, yeah. It's just that they're not getting enough, I guess. Um, do you think that the veterans and our treatment of veterans, do you see that as a men's issue?
Yes, I do actually. I mean, the armed forces are mainly men are there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and to get a guy to enlist in the army costs a lot of money for all of the commercials and all the people that put them through the whole deal to get them into the service. And then they have to feed them, they clothe them, they train them. So there's a big investment into that soldier when he steps out on the deck to do his job. And like these dudes get married, and the woman just says, "I'm not happy," and they destroy this dude's life. And like a lot of guys, they'll have a kid, and the woman will move away with the kid. They'll get out of the service to go to, to go after their kid or go be near their kid. So that's a big turnover, and if they could just deal with that, it would save a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. What's your
Yeah.
experience with what do they call it? army wives? Guys
Uh,
think they. You have any
you're talking
experience with
about
that?
yeah. I mean, we call them in the
Yeah,
dependapotipus.
the pendopotamus. Yes, yes.
And when they go off post, they're Womalos.
Wait, well, what? What do you call them?
When they go off post, they go to Walmart, which is we call Womalos. And I just can't wrap my head around this insanity. Like these women get so goddamn fat, they pull the pin on the fat grenade as soon as they get married. They waddle out of their car to the electric cart, and they drive into there to get more calories. So they come out and put it back in their vehicle, and I mean, they can't even walk into the store. They're so big.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what the hell's going on here? It's unbelievable.
Have you heard about the stories of guy goes off to to serve, or he goes off uh, to his post or whatever in another state somewhere, and then while he's gone, his wife who he just married, yeah, she's exactly. Uh,
Here's the one into the zero. That's what's going on right there. She's getting an illegal procedure, illegal upgrade.
yeah, right.
I've
And
seen that so many times.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
like when I got wounded in Iraq, like I was the first sergeant, and this is one of my personal beliefs, is I will not send a man to his possible death without me at least looking him in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how I am. So I used to make it one of my habits is when dudes are going to go out the wire, I would always do a inspection real quick, and I wouldn't like tear up their shirt or anything, but I look them all in the eye. And then on that one day, there was this one guy. He was just not in there. I mean, you can look at him, and he wasn't into it.
He wasn't home.
Yeah, he got a Dear John letter like 3 days before that.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna ride your gun for you. Just do your laundry. We don't need you out on the wire. So, that's the convoy that I got blown up in, and I wasn't even supposed to be there. So.
Oh, shit. So in
Well,
a way, it's a woman's fault.
yes, but the thing is, it really turned out to be in everyone's best interest because I was the only one that was not knocked unconscious, and we were driving like 65 miles an hour. So I came over the back seat to grab the steering wheel, held it for like 90 seconds until the driver came to and was able to grab it. Because if we'd have rolled, the gunner would be dead. And there wasn't not one piece of equipment inside that vehicle was tied down. So you'd have 50-pound boxes of 50 cal ammo bouncing around. Everyone quite possibly could have died if it would have rolled or crashed.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, I can't even fathom that shit.
Well, I mean, it sounds worse than it was. I mean.
No, I mean when you're there and the adrenaline takes over.
The explosion was so bright because you're looking at 40 kilograms of an explosive in less than a fraction of a second turns into a gas.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of energy. So yeah, it was crazy.
Holy shit, that's crazy. Yeah, so you've seen that, and I heard about some town. I think it was in Canada, but maybe we do this in the States too, where it's a military town, so there's a lot of soldiers there that live there, and they're all they have girlfriends or they have wives or whatever. And when they get called out or deployed someplace, and they leave, the wives or the girlfriends or whatever, they'd put out
go to the bar.
Yeah, they go to the bar, but the thing that I heard that they did here is they put out a box of Tide on their front step, and it was a way.
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know anything about that?
Not the Tide thing, but I know. I mean, I've been on active duty posts where whole units were deployed forward, and you go to the bar and there's normally like 17, 18 people there, and then you go one night and there's 500 people there. Most of them are women. You're like, oh shit. This is not going to end well for pretty much anybody here.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody in the chat just said Jody. I guess that's what we call them. Jodies?
Jodies, yep.
Yeah.
That's the one that's banging your piece of a tail back at home while you're out doing your deal.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you think that any of this is gonna all these issues we got between men and women? Do you see any change?
No, I don't see a change in any time in the near future. Because there's a lot of economies tied to the divorce industry that don't want to give up their stranglehold on the money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, either we're going to go broke, and there's going to be utter pandemonium. People will probably wind up getting zeroed out, and then it'll reset, and then we could probably adjust it from there. But I mean, I don't see it. I mean, we can't even get 50-50 custody passed.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there are so many. I mean, just go to Google and type in effects of fatherless children, and the first 4 pages is nothing but a huge story of misery and woe.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, fuck it, that doesn't apply to me. Listen, there are 2 parts to any bad decision out there. 1, you think you're special, and 2, the rules of the universe don't apply to you. Because in short order, you're going to find out, no, you're not, and yes, they fucking do.
Yeah. Yes, that's for sure. So, what do you think about, speaking of this, since we're talking about men's issues, what are your thoughts about MRAs?
Um, well, I would consider myself an MRA. I've worked with Paul Elam in the past, and I don't agree with everything he has to say, but I respect what he says.
Yeah,
There's a lot of guys out there that I mean, I'm not one of those guys that's gonna like, lockstep with you and just go with whatever you have to say and think it's gonna. I'm my own man,
sure.
and one of the main reasons why I'm doing the whole comedy thing with Redonkulous is men, for whatever reason, we can't all work together. Like
Yeah,
women, they could all they get their 5% of their feminazis and they line right up. They have a whole army of chicks show up and do stuff and go crazy,
yeah. Put on
and
their
people
pussy
listen to them.
hats and
Yeah,
yeah, go
but
down to.
men, like it's like an ego thing. I don't know. That's
I
why I do the comedy thing because I can use the comedy to bridge any gap.
Mhm.
Like if this person doesn't like me, I don't care. It's fine. You don't like me, but you know what? I'll make fun of you. You make fun of me. I don't care. It's all good.
Mhm.
Because you get away with a lot more using comedy than you do with like being serious.
Yeah. I agree with you on the men working together thing. I think the main reason is because men tend to be more individualistic. They see themselves as individuals more. Women tend to be more collectivist. They like being a part of something. And I also think that maybe this is some biological history. Men, we have always competed with each other, and
It could be.
I think
Those are all valid
that's
arguments. I would
yeah.
say, yeah.
Those are my thoughts on it. I know that you've have you ever met or talked to or know of Karen Strawn, Girl
Oh
Writes
yeah.
What?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she's one of the people on this show. So that's usually on, and there is some biology to it. And that's one of the reasons why it can be difficult for MRAs to organize. Because there's a lot of men that are just they would see that as competition. That's why you get that whole I'm different. The rules don't apply to me, and I think that's where that comes from because it's basically like seeing a man who says, "Look, man, the system is broken. This is bad, and here's my evidence why." Then even the most reasonable dude will be like, "Oh well, that's you, but that's not going to happen to me." And
Yeah.
so therefore, you're just got to suck it up, Buttercup, and they're going to move on.
Well,
And
like I did a video on this, a comedy on this a while ago. I call it the classic mistakes that men make. We all do them, and the number one thing that we all do that's stupid is we set our own death traps, and we bait them with our pride and arrogance,
mhm.
and that's lockstep with what you're saying. So yeah, I mean, you're
Yeah,
correct.
I mean that's what I think. I've noticed that when I talk about men's issues with dudes that don't know anything about it, they think of it like, oh, you know what, that's your experience. I'm not gonna have that problem. And I've literally had this happen on 2 occasions where guys have said, you know what you're, and I haven't been divorced or anything like that. I don't have that experience, but I see it, and there'll be guys that'll tell me, look, dude, those men are just bitter or whatever, that's not going to happen to me. And then those guys have had divorces and they've lost half their shit. I know a guy who he fell in love with a girl that he met at a fucking GameStop. She worked there, and he was like a computer programmer or something, and so he made a lot of money, and he was a lot older than her. She was like in her 20s, and she was going to college, and I think she was going to a medical school. And he fell in love with her. She moved in with him. They got married, and I told him about this stuff, and he was like, "No, that's not. What I got is different. This is special."
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
moment
Right.
she graduated, like she was totally cool, they got along, but the moment she graduated from college, which he paid for, so originally,
Boom.
yeah, the moment she graduated, she was like, "I'm leaving you. I have there's another guy waiting in the wings. We're getting divorced." She took half his shit. She took the money, like he already paid for her college. He took care of everything, and he can't now. He's like living in this big empty house that he bought for them, and he's trying to figure out what he needs to do. He's got to sell it, and nobody wants it, and so he's fucked. And I told him this can happen to you. I'm not saying obviously hashtag not all, but this is some shit that you cannot ignore. And the problem is not necessarily women. I think the problem is more specifically the system, because if the system does not exist that women can exploit it, then they're less likely to exploit it. That's my opinion. Maybe you disagree.
No, no.
But
If you want to have an absolute tyrant, you give them a little bit of power and no accountability.
yeah,
They just go fucking ape shit.
Absolutely.
And the women have no accountability. There's no accountability.
No.
There isn't. They get abortion. They have all this birth control. They can walk up and just give the kid away, and they're fine. Dude, you slipping by the goalie, you're on the hook for 18 to 26 years.
That's right. And that's like, that's not even, we're not talking about kids, right? But go ahead.
Well, here's another classic thing. If you're messing with a woman between the ages of 16 and 28, there is no goalie in the net. They pulled the goalie, and 2 of the defensemen are doing majors for unsportsmanlike conduct. So it's a 5-on-3 scenario. It's like an automatic score.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, that's what I say, like slipping by the goalie. Well, there was no fucking goalie because she's 21.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every time.
That's right.
I'm a fan of, I will explain to dudes the one and done rule. And what I tell them is, if you want to get married, okay, try to be the best, make the best decision you can. But at the end of the day, it's 50-50. Now, I understand you want to get married and have kids. I understand. But only do it once. Because if you keep doing it, you are basically insane, because you're doing the same thing over and expecting different results. Mm-hmm. And you didn't learn your fractions when you were in school. Because if you lose half your shit the first time, and half your shit the second time, and half your shit the third time, you are worth 1/8 of what you would have been before you got married.
Mm-hmm.
Fractions.
Plus, the odds of you getting a divorce only go up every time that you get married again.
Yes.
So
yes. I have a friend of mine that got married for the third time, and he walks down the aisle, and I'm like, "Congratulations on your 25% chance of success."
Yeah, right.
He was mad as shit at me, man. Mad. Oh, he was so mad. Well, he's like a brother to me, so I've always been. I just tell him how it is. I'm like, hey, you're fucking just enough.
Yeah. Did he get divorced yet?
No, not yet. Let's hope not.
Knocked on. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm all out of shit to say. I think this is a great interview. Do you have any questions for us? Do you know who Honey Badger Radio is? Do you even give a shit?
What, Honey Badgers?
Yeah.
I'm following their lawsuit they're doing in Canada.
Oh yeah. We're still in the still going through that. Actually, it looks like we have already set a precedent in Canada for free speech, which is a big deal. And if we win, which I think personally, I mean, again, knock on wood, I think we have a good chance of beating the Mary Sue and the Calgary Expo. And I would love to beat the Mary Sue, but I think we have a good chance of beating them.
Well, I like Karen Strawn, I sent her like $100, and I'm just like, break it 3 feet off in their ass. So I saw that whole thing, and I was just like, fuck that. I'm like, I'm like, oh yeah, fucking sue the shit out of them.
That's what we're doing. So
yeah,
and
I want to see people get the shit sued out of them, because this is bullshit.
Yeah. What do you think about Hulk Hogan suing Gawker and getting
Fuck, I love that shit. I love that. Here's another thing that really bothers the shit out of me. These women make these crazy fucking rape claims, and they're found later to be completely fabricated, and nobody does anything to the person that lied.
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole shit that just went down with Rolling Stone, or whatever it was.
That was the Rolling Stone thing. That was the Duke Lacrosse thing.
But the thing is like, remember how they all the dudes moved out of the house for like 10 days?
Mm-hmm.
That was because somebody shot like 4 or 5 bullets into the house.
Yeah.
So if one guy was in that house watching TV, he catches a stray round and gets killed, then they find out this chick lied. Are they going to make her? They should charge her with murder.
Mm-hmm.
And like these, it's just time and time again. These women make these crazy claims, and they're told to be false. And
that's the funny thing, is that rape claims are unique when it comes to crime. If somebody's accused of rape, their life is in danger. There are people that will
Kill you.
try to kill you, that mob justice will come out, and
Yep.
it doesn't matter what the circumstances might have been, whether it's true or false. If the even if they've already gone through the regular justice system, like about Brock Turner, you heard about that?
Yep.
And he like fingered a girl while she was unconscious or something, and some guys ran up on him, and he went to court and all of that. And I think the judge gave him 3 months or something like that because
Everyone threw a fit over.
oh, they did, and there were people outside of his house, with weapons and signs and shit. And I think he had to go into hiding or something because again, the kid fucked up. I'm not defending him, but we have a justice system in place for that, and to take things into your own hands. That's something that we seem to only do when it comes to rape. And yet, this is a patriarchy that oppresses women. We treat them extremely special, but
Women today live in America. This is the safest women have been ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have great medical here. They can go to McDonald's and eat like a king 3 times a day, and you can see it in their fat asses. Nobody's shooting at them. They don't even have to do laundry. You don't have to do shit but watch, Jerry Springer or whatever the fuck's on TV, and they still bitch. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly.
And like this whole 80 cents on the dollar thing. First of all, they're not. It's apples to oranges. They're not the same. They're both fruit, but it's different. But they don't still. The women don't want to hear that.
No.
And this is what I say. I say when women fill 50% of all coffins of people killed in the workforce, and you're still getting 80 cents on the dollar, then you have something to bitch about. But until that happens, fuck off.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I know guys are killed on the job. It's horrible. But, if you want to make risk equals reward, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm doing a show this coming Thursday. We're going to be talking to guys that do dangerous work, machinists and shit like that, like they've seen some fucked up shit. But same reason why I did the military show, because I wanted people to see, men do the most dangerous work. Sometimes that's also some of the best paying stuff too. And
it is.
Yeah.
It is like you work on an oil rig, you're going to make 120 grand a year, but you're standing right next to liquid oil that's probably 500 degrees.
Yeah, exactly.
So if that shit pops out, you're going to get baked.
Yeah.
You're going to be fucked.
And somebody has to do it.
That's right.
Somebody's got to do it. Like that, we benefit from the oil, so we may as well know where it really comes from and what people do to get it to us. Right.
And that's another thing. Like, I'm a soldier, and people are like, "How does it feel to fight for oil?" And I'm like, "I'd rather fight for something tangible than intangible." So fuck it. Yeah, I'll fight for oil.
Yeah.
You get to use your computer on energy that's from oil or coal, and you get to drive around in your car, which comes from oil and coal. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I get so spun up over that. It's just, I'm gonna take. When we get done, I'm gonna check my blood pressure because it's.
Well, we should probably wrap up for your health, and I need a beer now. So, but all I have is rum. So I guess that'll have to do.
That's liquid sleep.
That's right.
Have me some liquid sleep.
All right. Well, thanks, Terrence, for coming on the show, man. It was really great talking to you. I had a good time. No, this was great.
So did I.
All right, cool. Do you want to come on again sometime? We can
Sure.
shoot again. All right.
I have nothing to do.
You have videos to make, though.
Well, I write the videos. I'm writing my 3rd novel, so I'm keeping busy.
Yeah. All right. Good. And what do you do for your job right now?
I yell at people and do paperwork.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
All right. Well,
I train guys so they don't get killed. Teach them how to do shit.
All right. Sounds good. Oh, well, thanks again for coming on the show. Any of you guys, please leave a comment in the low bar about anything that we talked about. I thought it was a good conversation. I didn't even have any questions written down. I was just thinking about shit I might say. So I'm glad it just flowed naturally. And thanks again for coming on the Fireside Chat.